Mission Control is receiving more equipment. Every row needs a unique equipment ID, but Patch has been assigning those numbers manually. As the cargo list grows, manual numbering becomes slow and error-prone. Can SQL Server generate the numbers for us? Until now, every insert has included an equipment ID. Someone must first determine which IDs already exist and then choose a new value. That may be manageable with 3 rows. It becomes unreliable when many people or systems insert equipment at the same time. SQL Server provides the identity property for automatically generated numeric values. When a new row is inserted, SQL Server creates the next identity value. The application no longer needs to determine the next equipment ID manually. We add identity 1 to the equipment ID column. The first number is the seed. It determines the first generated value. The second number is the increment. It determines how much SQL Server adds for each new row. With the seed of 1 and an increment of 1, the generated values begin with 1 and increase 1 at a time. The seed and increment can use values other than 1. For example, identity 110 would generate 100, 110, 120, and so on. Most tables use identity 11 because simple sequential numbers are easy to work with. The generated number usually has no business meaning. Its job is simply to identify a row. When equipment ID is an identity column, we normally omit it from the insert statement. We provide the equipment name, weight, and priority. SQL Server generates equipment ID automatically while adding the row. Because this is the first row, SQL Server generates the seed value, 1. The row is accepted with equipment ID 1. The generated value is stored in the table just like an ID that was entered manually. As more rows are inserted, SQL Server generates the next values. The water recycling unit receives equipment ID 2. The emergency medical kit receives equipment ID 3. Each generated value is different, and the primary key ensures that each row remains uniquely identifiable. Identity and primary key are often used together, but they are not the same feature. Identity generates numeric values. The primary key uniquely identifies rows and prevents duplicate or missing key values. An identity column is not automatically a primary key unless we explicitly declare it as one. Identity values are not guaranteed to remain consecutive. A failed insert, a rolled back transaction, a deleted row, or a server restart can leave gaps. If equipment ID 4 is skipped, SQL Server may continue with 5. This is normal. An identity value should identify a row, not prove how many rows exist or show their exact order. After an insert, the application may need the generated ID scope _ identity. Returns the most recent identity value generated in the current scope. Here, it returns the ID assigned to the solar panel array. In application code, another common approach is the output clause, which we will explore later. Now it is your turn. Create a flight table with FlightId defined as an identity primary key. Insert 2 flights without supplying their IDs. Display the rows and observe the generated values. Then insert 1 more flight and use scope _ identity to retrieve its generated flight ID. In the next episode, we will use a default constraint to supply common values automatically.